of requests to do another one of these travel photo editing videos. So here we are. And I'm going to be doing some ear to ear whispering as I go to make it a little bit more tingly for you and relaxing. So, these are the photos that I edited in my first such video. And if you want to see the process for those, you can go check it out. I will throw it down in the video description if you're curious. And on the card at the end of the video, the end screen. Anyway, but today, I'm going to be editing this set of photos, so you kind of get a little preview here. All of these photos are from my most recent trip, which was a Panama Canal cruise. So lots of these are from Mexico and Central American countries, or Caribbean towards the end. Alright, and I'm editing photos today in Adobe Lightroom Classic CC, which is kind of a long name, but Adobe sort of forked their Lightroom development a while ago. Now they've got a few versions, and it's all quite confusing what the differences are, but Lightroom Classic CC is the one that's designed for desktop photo editing, and that is what I'm using here today. So let's start right here with this funky looking photo. So this is going to be kind of half travel log, just as I talk about the trip a bit, and half photo editing tutorial, I guess, as I talk about some of the techniques and tools that I'm using. So let's go from the library module to the develop module. You can do that just by pressing D. Now, I am no professional photographer. I should make this very clear. I'm just a hobbyist, and even then, I'm very casual about it. I just take pictures I like, and then I play around in Lightroom until they look the way I want them to. But generally speaking, my editing philosophy is to make photos look realistic. I don't like to take them too far beyond realism, but I do like them to have some visual excitement to them. I like them to pop a bit. So get some nice contrast going on, some nice colors. You'll see what I mean. So this photo was taken at a shop in Puerto Vallarta, which was the first place that our cruise stopped in Mexico. And this is a very popular tourist destination, and this shop was right along the main beach, and had all kinds of crazy beadwork. That was their main thing, is all these very finely beaded items, and it made for a very colorful shop. But this guy caught my eye just because he was just rocking out on his stringed instrument here with this dramatic headdress. He's not actually beaded. He's just carved and painted, I think. It looks like he's made of wood, maybe, or something. Anyway, so my general workflow these days, let's close some of these tabs here. So this is where all the action happens, really. I usually start over here in calibration, actually, and I make sure that we are using the latest process version. Over the years, Adobe has put out a bunch of different process versions or revisions of their process, which is basically how the raw photos are processed. And these are all raw format photos that I'm going to be editing here today, which means they haven't been processed inside the camera and then saved into a lossy format like a JPEG. So no in-camera processing, which is why they'll probably look a bit duller than you're used to. For out-of-the-camera photos, there's no no denoising, no sharpening, no vibrance bumping, no whatever, none of that stuff. So anyway, the process version basically just selects how Lightroom is going to implement its changes on that raw photo. And the reason that it defaulted to version 4 is because Adobe recently upgraded their process. So version 5 is the latest one. And they give you the option because if you're working on older photos that you've edited in past, you might want to stay on the process version that you edited them in originally. This is kind of wordy, but because when you change the process, it might look different. Your edits might look different. Anyway, I haven't made any edits to any of these photos yet, so I'm just going to set them all to version 5 and we'll work from there. The latest and greatest version. Okay, so with that done, I then jump up here to Basic. And Adobe has recently I don't know, within the last year or something, has added this color profile option here. And the color profile is sort of the base color profile from which you'll be working. And by default, you can pick between all these different profiles that Adobe has created, but also there's information embedded in the photograph about what kind of camera it was taken with, which, if you're interested, was a Sony RX100 Mark V, which is the same camera I film all my videos with. So, it's kind of a compact point and shoot, but it's got a larger 1-inch style or 1-inch size sensor. So anyway, you can see your camera's profiles for those as well. If you don't see those in the list here, you can actually just go click this grid button and you'll see all those options, as well as a bunch of other options down here like artistic and black and white color profiles. And you can select them as favorites to make them appear on this list here. So that's what I did for all of my camera profiles. So there's a lot of preamble, but what I'm going to do is select a color profile which is going to make this pop. I want these colors vivid. So let's take a look at Adobe Vivid. Okay, so that looks pretty nice. The darks got a little darker, the colors got a little brighter. Let's see what my camera's Vivid preset will do. Okay, so that's actually pretty different, isn't it? That looks a lot maybe cooler to me, I'm not sure, but there's something quite different going on with the color processing there. Personally, I like the look of Adobe Vivid more. I think it looks warmer and just more colorful, so we will stick with that. Then I'll go to white balance here. So this is the white balance as shot, but we can change it. And again, this is because I took these photos in RAW format, which retains a bunch of information that would otherwise be lost and allows for all kinds of fun after the fact editing. So let's go, well, we'll probably keep it as shot, honestly. This was shot inside, but just for the sake of interest, let's see if we set it to the fluorescent lighting preset. Yeah, that cools it way off. I can't remember what kind of lighting it might add in there, but that's too warm. Oops. Auto is whatever Lightroom thinks looks best. That actually doesn't look bad to me. And then as shot retains the in-camera settings. That cools it off a little bit. Honestly, I kind of like Adobe's white balance there. It's a little warmer, brings out the colors a little more, makes them look a bit richer. Okay, and then the best button of them all, this cheaty button right here that says Auto. This will automatically set a bunch of parameters, and this is a pretty powerful button these days. Used to be a more basic function, but these days it's powered by some kind of AI processing, which means, well, I assume it means that they've trained an AI on a huge set, training set of photographs that are properly exposed, and then the program uses that knowledge basically to try and analyze your photographs and set all these parameters, these exposure parameters, these tone parameters to look the way it thinks they ought to. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, it does a pretty good job, and it provides a very strong starting point to work from. So let's hit that button. Okay, so that didn't make a lot of difference. No dramatic changes there. We can undo. And then we can hit it again. So the biggest thing I see it doing is attempting to lighten up some of the shadows back here. Like watch, we hit auto. And it just seems to lighten things up a bit. I don't think it looks bad. But honestly, it does wash things out a little bit. And I'm not sure that it's necessary. You can see highlights are down, shadows are up. So it's trying to make sure that we're getting all the details out of the highlight areas. Nothing's blowing out. And we can actually press J. And in the original image, I don't think anything's blowing out. It would be highlighted if it was. We're losing a little bit of shadow detail here, but who cares? That's not important there. So let's hit that auto button again. I don't think we need it. I don't think we gain anything by using Adobe's automatic adjustments. So we'll undo that again. But what I will do is I'll come down here to the presence settings and I'll set some of these manually. I'm going to improve the clarity. This is a local contrast setting that makes things pop a little bit more, but I find it can also drain some of the color from an image. So to combat that, and also just because this is a colorful image and I want it vibrant, let's take the vibrance up to like 25, we'll say. So that helps bring the colors out a bit. Saturation is a similar kind of setting. It makes colors richer, but vibrance is sort of a more intelligent way to do that. I'm sure someone who knows more about photography than I do could give a more technical explanation of saturation versus vibrance controls, but I find if you play around with the saturation or drag it up too high, the color balance goes way out of whack. Whereas the vibrance, the relative color balance seems to be preserved, but the colors are just brighter, bolder, more vivid, but we can still bump saturation a little bit. Again, this is a nice colorful photo. Okay, so with that done, I think we're going to leave all these exposure settings as they were. I think they look fine. Let's move down the list here. Detail is another important tab. You can see that in some of these defocused areas of the image, like back here, it's a bit noisy. Maybe you can see that. It's not too bad in this image, and it gets worse in low light conditions, of course, but there's a bit of graininess going on back there. So we can clean that up with some noise reduction, while at the same time we can use the sharpening setting to bring out details in the areas where we want them. So let's start with the sharpening. Let's look at, some of these areas in here. It would be nice if they were just a little crisper. So maybe we can bump this up to, 60. Let's try that. So that's good. I think we did achieve a increase in our details here. But what we lost, or what the trade-off is that noise increases in some of these defocused areas. But fortunately, we can use this handy tool called the masking tool here. And if you hold down the Alt key and then drag this up and down, you get this really cool mode. And what this is showing us is what areas are being sharpened and what areas aren't. So the areas highlighted in white are what's being sharpened. And you can see as I drag towards zero masking, the whole picture is white, so the whole image is being sharpened. But we don't want those defocused areas in back to be sharpened right, so why don't we move this to the right until we start seeing some of those sort of defocused areas losing the white highlighting. And we see the sharpening is mostly around the edges and details of our focal figure that's right up front here. I don't know if we want to take that all the way, but we want it up pretty high, I think, in this case. Maybe around 80 or something. And what that'll do is that'll help these smooth areas stay smooth while applying the sharpening to the areas where we want it on our in focus figure. Alright, we spent a long time on this photo for a photo that's ultimately not terribly interesting. Oh, and if we did want to deal with any of the noise in the background here, we could use the noise reduction settings here, but I don't think that's necessary in this photo. I think it's looking pretty good as is. The one other thing that I'm going to do is, because we have this beautiful sort of focal point in this photo, it's not a landscape or anything, I'd like to draw our attention into the middle here. And a great way to do that is with a vignette. And Lightroom has a variety of inbuilt vignette settings. You can do it manually if you want as well. Down here in Effects, you can create your own post-crop vignetting settings, but I'm just going to go with one of these default settings. I like the heavy setting, actually. I think that looks quite dramatic. I think that really helps focus the eye to the brightness of what's going on here. So if we do a comparison, original versus edited, it's not a huge difference in this case. All that work we did really didn't make a huge difference, did it? But it does make it pop a little bit more, and I think it adds a little bit more drama to the image. So, but honestly, this one was already pretty good coming out of the camera. So, press Y to go back, and we can move on. So I've got about 10 images queued up here, I think. I don't know if we're going to get through them all, but I'll move through the others a little faster here. Okay, so this is a very cute puppy, as you can see. And I encountered this puppy when we were at a coffee plantation and processing facility. He and another dog, you can just see a piece of back here, were living in this coffee processing sort of facility. And they were clearly being somewhat cared for anyway. There was food accents. And this little guy was pretty scared at first when we came by, but and he was kind of giving little yips, like yip yip. He was kind of scared, but he got a little bit bolder once we had been there for a bit, our group that was there. And at one point I knelt down to get a picture of him, and he came right at me, right at the camera, to give me a sniff and check me out. And this is this little puppy as he was trotting over to check me out. So this is bold determination that you see in his little puppy eyes. Maybe a little bit of fear as well, but he was coming over to say hi. So the first thing I'm going to do here, again, I'm going to check that versioning, set it to the version 5 process, because I imported these a little while back before the process had been upgraded. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look at some cropping, because this photo is pretty well composed to start with, but I feel like there's a little too much blank space down at the bottom here. I'd like him to sit a little bit lower in the frame. So let's just bring this up a bit. That brings the crop in a little closer to him, or her. I don't know the gender of the puppy. I should not assume it. And we can adjust the crop so that the dog is a little bit more centered, and we don't have so much wasted space down here. I think that looks pretty good, right about there, don't you? Yeah. Okay, so with that done, we can go through our process as before. Now, I don't know if vivid is the most appropriate choice for this kind of picture, but let's try it. Let's see what Adobe Portrait looks like. I honestly don't know what that'll do. Okay, so we lost some contrast a little bit, some of the depth to our shadows. So we have a slightly flatter looking image. Maybe that's desirable with portraiture, but camera portrait does something kind of similar. Let's apply that Adobe Vivid again and just see. Okay, so that increases the contrast quite dramatically. You can see much more lighting on this side and more shadow over there. I don't know if that's what we want. It's hard to say, isn't it? Adobe Color is just kind of a default. It says default color processing. And Adobe Standard is actually an older kind of default. Adobe Color is meant to be just a bit more colorful than Adobe Standard. But Adobe has started making Adobe Color the standard color profile, the default. I don't know, it's a little confusing, but you can see Standard is just not quite as rich. Adobe Color, a little bit more richness. What does Camera Deep look like? Let's try that. Darkens everything up. You know what, for this one, I think we're just going to stick with Adobe Color. I think that's a good starting point. So, with that dealt with, check the white balance here. That looks a bit too warm for me. That's what Adobe thinks is a good white balance, but we're going to stick with the as shot color here, I think. Let's see what auto exposure will do for us, or auto tone. Alright, that looks okay. Didn't do anything too egregious. Just bumped up some of the shadows here a little bit. Let's increase the clarity again. I find 15 to be a pretty good value. Anything more than that and it starts to look too contrasty for me. Vibrance is not such a necessary thing in this image, but let's bring it up to 20 anyway. And let's go down here to the detail. Now this is going to be important here because this dog was moving, and we've lost quite a bit of detail in the fur and stuff here as it was trotting towards me, and it got a little blurred. It's pretty good over here, but less good on this side. So maybe we can recover, or not recover detail, but just make it look a little less soft with some of our sharpening options here. And again, I'm going to use that that masking setting so that we don't get a whole bunch of unnecessary noise in the softer defocused parts of the image. So let's do something aggressive here. Let's go up to 70. Now let's undo that so we can see the difference. So that's no sharpening. That's more. None. More. Yeah, it doesn't make a terribly dramatic difference, but you don't want to go too far with the sharpening either, because if you crank it way up, sometimes the image can start to look very over-sharpened, where you start to get unpleasant artifacts like halos around the edges of things, or weird aliasing and things like that. So maybe we'll set it to 80, say. I think that looks okay. I'm not seeing any artifacts, but what I'm going to do is go back to the masking here, and let's start playing with that a little bit. So right now that looks like a decent point. We're getting some good sharpening on the face. You can see the hairs that are being sharpened, but we're not sharpening too much of that background, which is exactly what we want. So let's just put it about 60. That looks okay. And now, once again, this is an image with a very strong focal point in the center. And so I'm going to rely on the vignetting again to draw the eye to the middle of that image. We're going to do some heavy vignetting. And I think that that's looking okay. Again, not dramatically different, but it's looking nice. We could maybe even, let's see what Adobe Vivid looks like for color profile. Yeah, that does increase the depth a little bit, doesn't it? Maybe we will go with that. After we've made all our changes, we'll change that color profile. Just brings it out that much more. I like that though. I think that's looking pretty nice. I tend to lean toward the slightly more vivid settings, so let's go with that. Alright, we've got one cute pup. On to the next image. Alright, and I should say this puppy was in Mexico, near a town called Manzanillo. Or that's the port that we stopped at anyway. This pupper was inland a ways, but okay. Comala was a village that we stopped at on that same day, and it's one of what they call the magical pueblos, which is sort of a network of over 100 small Spanish or small Mexican villages that have a certain, I guess, set of requirements they have to meet and maintain to be called that, to be part of this program, but they're supposed to be kind of tourist-friendly small villages, I guess. Okay, so for this one, let's go down here, change the process. Let's crop some things. Let's get this lady out of the side of the frame here. I don't think she really adds anything to the image. Let's crop that in a little bit, like so. Comala was very nice. This is their town square right in the middle, and there's clearly this church on the square. We ate right near there. So let's go through our standard suite of edits here. Again, you sort of get into a workflow where you find settings that you like, and you just kind of carry through with that. That's what I do, at least. Adobe Landscape is good for landscapes. It boosts the colors, especially the greens, I find. It looks okay here. It definitely brings out that sky, doesn't it? That actually looks pretty good here. Vivid would be another option. That definitely brings out the depth of the image, but I think Adobe Landscape maybe looks the best on this one. So then I'm just gonna check what, yeah, so that's way too warm. If we set to auto, it's too warm. If we set to daylight, that looks pretty reasonable because obviously this was shot in daylight. And in fact, that's exactly the same white balance point as the as shot. Oh no, it's a little warmer. What do you think? As shot, slightly cooler, or daylight, slightly warmer? I kind of like it a little bit warmer. I tend to like my images on the warm side. Many people don't, but I think it's nice for sort of especially warmer locations because it just gives that feel. So let's look at this auto tone. Okay, so that brightens things up quite a bit. Let's undo that. Let's do it again. Interesting. I think that's maybe a little brighter than I want, but you know what? We can keep these settings. The highlight reduction is nice because we gain some detail out of these clouds and other regions of the image that might have been a little overexposed originally. Probably like this car and stuff. And I think overall it looks okay. It's just a little too bright for me, so let's take the exposure, bring it back down to earth there, but keep all the other sliders where they sit. Let's increase the clarity a bit, as I like to do, which will give us a little bit more local contrast, and vibrance up to, say, 20, because it should look colorful. And then I don't always do like a vignette on landscape photos, but if there's a lot of sky, I do find that a light vignette will add a bit of gradient to the sky and add a little bit more visual interest to it. So let's just, what do you think, a medium or light vignetting? Medium, light, let's go with the light vignetting. And it just adds a little more depth to the perimeter of the sky. That kind of gradient adds a little bit more visual interest, in my opinion. I'm sure there's many professional photographers rolling their eyes right now, but that's just what I think looks nice. We can probably give it a little bit of sharpening, because some of this looks like it could stand to... Yeah, there, that sharpens that up nicely. And as before, let's look at that masking option, and let's try and prevent that sky from getting sharpened, because it really doesn't need it. We don't want to start seeing weird gradients or noise in the sky. Yeah, so right about there. That looks pretty good to me. Very nice. Okay. And I don't think we need to use the noise reduction in here. I think it looks fine without it. You know what? Let's bump the vibrance a little more. Let's just take it up to 25. It's just such a beautiful, bright image. And the colors, just want to bring them out. I think that's looking pretty nice. You know what? Maybe we could even bump up the exposure 1/10 of a step here. There. Because when we vignetted it, it did bring it a little bit more darkness to the image. But it shouldn't be a dark image, right? It's a beautiful, sunny day. Okay. Very nice. Let's move on. this is an old colonial town dating back to the 1600s, I believe, that has been destroyed a couple of times, I think, by earthquakes. There's a lot of volcanic activity in the region, but anyway, I don't know the story behind this at all, honestly. This is just a building that was kind of on the edge of town that I thought looked really neat. And you can see it's got these like headless, classical looking kind of statues in these alcoves. I just think it looks really cool. So all this foliage growing up on top, grass and shrubs and things. There's a bunch of pigeons up there as well. It was a bit of a gray day, but anyway, first things first, let's change that processing. Did I do that on the previous one? I think I did, but yes, I did. Alright, let's look at straightening this out. It's just a little off kilter and it's bothering me. Now, Lightroom has a pretty good auto leveling option, which I think will work great here. Let's take a look. Yeah. So when there are straight lines that it can auto detect, it does a great job of straightening things out automatically. So that's looking better already, in my opinion. But let's pop on some Adobe Landscape. Just bring out those colors and warm it up a little bit. Let's hit the auto exposure. That brightens it up quite a bit, which is good because it was a little underexposed. Let's bump that clarity to bring out sort of the crumbling facade, the detail in the crumbling facade. I might do that even a little bit more. Let's goose it a little further. Don't want to go too far because it does start to look kind of funny when you take it too far, but a little bit more vibrance, although this image doesn't really need it because it was a darker, kind of grayer day. And we don't want to make the foliage look too unnatural. As for sharpening, we can certainly benefit from that. We're going to try and bring out, for instance, some of the details in this foliage and this cracking plaster. So let's bump that up to like a 17. Oh yeah, that crisps it right up. Very nice. But, as always, make use of that amazing masking tool so that we're not doing anything weird to our sky. I think about there. That looks good to me. Already a pretty dramatic difference from the original photo as shot. Another handy thing that we might take advantage of here is this dehaze feature, which it does kind of what it sounds like. It removes any haziness in the image. I don't know how it works. It's like voodoo sorcery, but if we take it and we drag it, you see that these regions that are quite hazy in the original image start to gain a lot more depth and richness. Now you can't take that too far. I might even back off on it a little bit here because it's making things almost too contrasty, although maybe we can back off on the clarity. When we do that, back off slightly on the dehaze. And I think that looks a little bit more reasonable. I felt like it was maybe getting a little out of hand. Just too contrasty before. And last but not least, my favorite crutch, some vignetting. Let's go with, let's try medium vignette. Let's see how that looks. I think that looks quite nice because, again, our focal point is in the middle of the image. We don't care so much about the framing foliage. Like, it's it's nice in that it provides that frame, but we're not really looking for the details there. And I think that medium vignetting adds some nice drama to the sky, and we can see all this texture in the clouds that we really can't see in the original image. We still have this really great clarity and detail visible in our plants. Look at the difference, eh? You can barely, it's all kind of fuzzy looking here. Here, nice, crisp, bold. Yeah. That one came out really nice, I think. I like it quite a bit. It is very warm. Again, I kind of like it that way. We could look at, say, let's set it to cloudy here and see. Okay, that warms it way up. No, we're going to keep it as shot, I think. What does the auto setting do? That looks okay as well. I think we're going to keep it as shot. Moving right along. Okay, so now we're in Nicaragua. This is another colonial town, the town of Leon. And here we see the lions. Sorry if you guys hear some laughing in the background. That's Sarah. I don't know what she's watching, but she's in the other room and she's clearly finding something really funny. Anyway, the lions of Leon, of course, and this beautiful cathedral, which you'll see again in the next photo. But this is evidently the largest cathedral in Central America. That's what our guide told us, anyway. And this is in the town square. And I liked this photo because of the birds, really. The birds are very dramatic. They're all just pigeons winging their way across the square. They like to perch up here on the cathedral. I cannot remember the name of this cathedral. I wish I could, but if you look it up, Leon Cathedral, it'll probably come up. Anyway, so let's go through our standard set of processes here. Let's set this to the landscape. I think that's a good choice here. Let's do some auto toning. So that brightens it way up. Probably too much for my liking. So maybe we'll just bump that down a bit. This was a cloudy-ish day. You can see there's some blue sky, but a lot of cloud as well. We can try the auto white balance, but pardon me, that's really, that's too warm. So let's go back to as shot. I guess we'll keep that. I feel like we're just, well, maybe we're okay. Maybe we're not too bright. Let's go on the clarity slider here up to 15, which is where I like to start from. I think that looks okay. We can bring the vibrance up a little bit, although being a darker-ish day, we don't want to go too far on that. And sharpening-wise, same deal. We could definitely stand to sharpen up some of this detail, fine detail, for instance, on the cathedral. So let's bring this up to, 16. And we do get a bit of noise. It's definitely a bit noisier than it was, but you don't see that when you're zoomed out like this. But we don't need any of that in the sky, so the old masking tool. Let's set it to maybe, right about there. And actually, that will spare us the noise in these flat parts of the cathedral, which is great. We will only get the sharpening where we need it, is such a godsend, that masking option. And again, to do that, you're holding Alt while you drag the slider. So good. And as ever, get a little bit more drama in there. I think it's especially appropriate here. We can put some drama in the sky and sort of focus the view away from these less interesting areas. Let's go with some heavy vignetting. What do you think? I think that looks pretty cool. Maybe that's a bit heavy-handed, but look at what we've done with our sky compared to what we had previously. The sky was just blown right out. You couldn't see any of this mottling in the clouds. You could barely see the blue sky over here. The detail in the foliage was lacking. Just overall, lacking in depth and lacking a lot of drama in the sky. And now we have this really dramatic sky. I think that looks pretty neat, especially with all these birds. They just look so cool. Alright, I'm gonna keep it like that. And again, this is really all about personal taste, isn't it? You know, some people might not like, some of the choices I'm making. Maybe you're one of them. But I tend to like to bring a bit of drama in. Alright. Okay, so this, as you can see, is another shot up closer to that cathedral. And they had this really cool dancing going on, this traditional dancing. You can see, which are these dancers underneath these gigantic costumes of these colorful ladies. And they're kind of twirling around. You can see they've got these arms. They're like flinging out and wrapping around them as they twirl. Another cool thing about this shot is, again, these pigeons are kind of all flying away from their roost. And so you get this really, I think, a really lovely sense of motion in this image with the birds and the dancers. The unfortunate thing about this image is you can see other people doing the same thing that I'm doing, which just doesn't look great. Now, I have another version of this image. This one. It's obviously not shot quite as straight, but I think the cathedral is framed better overall. We have some white space over here and over here. As opposed to, we're really tight on this side here. And we've got lots of white space over here on this previous shot, but on this next shot we don't have nearly so many birds. So you lose that dramatic element. Also, the dancing lady in the foreground here is turned away, which is not nearly as striking. But you notice in the follow-up shot, we don't have those other tourists in the picture, which is really nice. So honestly, I'm not quite sure which photo I prefer more. I think I'm going to try editing this one to start with. We'll see how it turns out. And I'll edit the other, and then we'll decide once we're done. So let's do the old process here. Let's do the auto straightening. Doesn't require too much. I think the next one will need more. Let's go with Adobe. I want to maybe vivid on this one. I feel like this image has... Well, that might be too much, actually. Well, let's hit the auto. Oh yeah, okay. So now we get some more detail back in the sky. That auto button, it's usually the highlights that make the biggest difference, where it automatically brings those highlights way down, so you can see more detail in your blown out skies, and boosts the shadow details, so you can pseudo HDR effect, and it usually looks pretty good. So, with that as a starting point, let's look at some of these settings to warm. Daylight versus as shot. Very similar. Yeah, almost the same. Sure, we'll keep it on daylight. Let's hit that auto again. Doesn't really change much. Let's add a bit of clarity, although I'm hesitant to add too much because this is already a pretty high contrast scenario. And these ladies are already pretty dark. But vibrance. Let's give it a healthy dose of vibrance. Because I want these colors to pop down here. And let's get that saturation at least back up to maybe there. I think that brings some more life to the image, doesn't it? Definitely does. And now, the old sharpening. We don't need too much here, but certainly more than it's giving us to start with. I like to bump it to 60 as a baseline and then kind of go from there. The masking. Right about now. Yeah, sure, we'll put it at 50. And then the old vignette. Now, in this case, the vignette serves several purposes. It adds drama to the sky. It also draws our gaze away from these other cameras, but it does darken up our dancing ladies a little bit, and that is less desirable. Let's just do a little compare and contrast. So overall, the edited image here is quite dark after applying that vignetting, so I think we can probably safely bump the exposure a couple of notches, maybe there. So our dancing ladies is still rather dark, but certainly more vibrant looking than they were. We're really not, my eye is not drawn to these other tourist cameras nearly as much in our edited photo. And our sky's just got so much more going on that really looks almost foreboding, but I think it looks really cool. And then we still get these beautiful birds over here. I think that looks pretty good. Honestly, I like that a lot. You know what, I'm even gonna, let's just take this vibrant slider for a little walk. Let's just see how crazy it gets. I mean, that's getting way up there, but I kind of like it. And I don't think we're really compromising. I mean, this kid's looking very bright. But there's something really appealing to just those bright colors. Maybe we can even... What do you think about that? I like that. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a sort of blown out look. Well, not blown out, but we can see the lighting kind of in behind. I don't know, it's adding a lot of drama to the image. I keep saying that, but no, I like that. Yeah, this is good. I like this. I think it's because the sun is lighting from behind the cathedral, and you can see the warmth that it's casting on the back side that we're not getting in the front here, but it makes for this dramatic lighting. Alright, you know what? I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. I don't think we need to edit this one, because I just don't think it's as good. The framing's a little better, but we don't have the birds to the same degree, and the dancing ladies certainly aren't as good. And I'm not nearly as distracted by this stuff as I was previously. And Of course, you might say, you could crop this out, and we could. That's true, we could. But I think we'd lose too much of what we want to see if we went that road, so let's keep it as is. So we'll ignore that one. Okay. Now here we are at the Panama Canal, and you can see we're on our boat, our cruise ship, and you can see a bunch of passengers down here. But I like this photo for a couple of reasons. One, you can see the difference in water height from the lock to the lake beyond it. And you go up a series of locks like this where the boat goes into here, and then the water level rises, equalizes with the lake, and then in you go. But it's in steps, so it's like big ship steps, elevator ship steps. But it's also cool because you can see here this locomotive, and this locomotive's job is to use these cables to keep the ship centered in the canal, because these big ships, what they call the Panamax ships, are designed to just barely squeak into these locks. They have about, 2 or 3 feet of clearance on either side at best. So it's very tight fit into the old locks. And there's another locomotive on the other side of the ship. That's not pictured here, but it's over there. That's providing tensioning from that side. And then there's several more towards the aft of the ship. And they all work together to keep the ship centered. And there's an individual that's brought on board the ship and hangs out up on the bridge with the captain, and is calling the shots to these locomotives to let them know if they need to adjust the tensioning on their lines, so whether they need to let some out, pull it in, whatever. And these little locomotives follow these little tracks, and there's an operator inside each one. So that was really cool to see. This whole superstructure, all this concrete, was poured back when the canal was first created back in the early 1900s. And these gates date from that time as well. Now, I should remember this. I don't, but I believe the canal opened in 1915 or thereabouts, but that could be wrong. I watched a documentary and now I've already forgotten. Clearly I did not learn super much, or super well. Didn't learn super much. I think it's time to get to bed soon. I don't know about you guys, but first we're going to edit this photo. So, let's see, what can we do? Well, we'll just go through our regular process. I don't think we need to straighten it, but I think we'll switch this to Adobe Landscape. Just play around a little bit with some of these white balance settings. Yeah. And then let's do this auto tone. Okay, that actually did a pretty good job of brightening things up a bit. Again, a somewhat cloudy day, but let's bump the clarity a bit, not too far. We'll go 15. That looks okay. Bump the vibrance a bit, not too much, or else this grass is going to start looking really weirdly green. And for once in a blue moon, I do not think this photo requires any vignetting. I think that would just detract because there's a lot going on all across the frame. We don't really want the eye to be drawn to just the middle. In fact, the middle's kind of a void. It's all everything going on around. We can see what it would look like with a bit, but no, I don't think we want it. So we're gonna leave it. And then a little bit of sharpening. that's looking all right. And then a little bit of the masking, although honestly there's not very many smooth parts of this image, so we kind of want most of it sharpened. But back again, sort of at the 50 point here, then the sky is not getting too grainy. And some of these areas that don't need sharpening are not receiving it, but everything else is, which looks pretty good. So I think that we might be done with that image actually. We don't need to do much else. We've gained some detail. We've brightened it up quite a bit. These people, I don't really care about them in the photo, but they do give a sense of scale to the image. You know, I think we're looking pretty good here. So why don't we just keep moving forward? Okay, so now, and for what it's worth, this Panama Canal shot is on the Pacific side. We're going through the second set of locks on the Pacific side at this point. So, this picture, we are now through the Panama Canal. We are on Aruba, which is an island just a ways, about 30 kilometers off the coast of Venezuela, and is known for its beaches and its easy lifestyle, just kind of easy living. Not actually, but like that's the idea anyway. It's got beautiful beaches, but I think the people work there, or that live there, work very hard. It's all about the tourism industry in Aruba. Anyway, we took a little boat that had an underwater deck, like a level that you could go down to, and had these big windows that you could look out and you could see sea life and things. And we went out to an old shipwreck of an old German merchant ship that was actually scuttled just off the coast back when World War II broke out, and has since sort of developed this reef ecosystem. And so these fish, these little guys here, I believe are called sergeant majors. I think that's what I saw. You can see they've got these kind of bright yellow up at the top here, and these stripes and scales. They're cute looking little guys. But this image is obviously pretty soft and pretty hazy. And it's just really hard to get good photos underwater, even when you're just taking a picture, like through a window of underwater scenes. But I've never edited an underwater photo before, so I have no idea how this is going to look when we're done, but we're going to give it a shot. So let's go through our system here. There's nothing really to straighten on, so I don't see any good reason to crop it or straighten. Let's go vivid. Yeah, what does landscape do? Oh, that brightens it up quite a bit. That's not bad. That's interesting. Oh, that was camera landscape that brightened it up. I see. So this is, yeah, the in-camera setting for landscape color profile. Both the Adobe profiles look pretty similar. You know what, let's start from camera landscape on this one. I kind of like the brighter starting point. White balance is, it's going to be a tricky one. No, that's too warm. We'll keep it as shot. I have no idea what auto exposure is going to do here. Okay, that's going to brighten it up even further. It's going to attempt to get it really bright. Sure, why not? Now we can see a bit more of this stuff here. The biggest thing I think we're going to be working with here is clarity. Let's bring this clarity slider way up. Let's try like 25. just... So if you take it all the way, that's what it looks like. And it's not bad, actually. Like, I think we can get pretty aggressive on that clarity slider here. But really what we're going to want to play with is the dehaze slider. So I bet you this is going to make a world difference. World of difference. Yes, look at that. My gosh, okay. So that's not too bad. Let's bring this clarity. I'm just trying to see kind of what it's doing. Yeah, we can probably keep that pretty high. Let's stick it around, I don't know, 69. Yeah, sure. Can be even a little more aggressive with this dehaze. Let's bring it up to 40. Vibrance, yes. Now this blue is getting very, very blue. This is kind of an unnatural blue, isn't it? Maybe bringing down the clarity slider will help a little bit. Yeah, that's also the dehaze slider. We don't want to go so far that it just looks completely unrealistic. I think that's looking alright though. Something like that. And then sharpening. This is going to be interesting. It would be great to sharpen up some of these details, but we've already got a lot of noise in the water. A lot of graininess. So let's do something tricky here. Let's do some aggressive sharpening. We get a little more detail on our fishies. Let's do some aggressive masking so that we're really only getting that sharpening on our fishies and some of the boat. Maybe like, okay, there, see, there is the threshold where we're starting to see a lot of noise in the water, so let's bring it just beyond to about there. Okay, so now we should see our fish better. We do. They're still very noisy. We still got noise in the background. It's just not getting amplified by the sharpening. Now let's get some noise reduction going on. And this will hopefully help deal with some of this graininess. Let's, oh, I don't know, let's go 30 and see how that looks. Okay, so that made quite a big difference. I don't know if we lost too much detail on our fish here. Let's undo. Redo. So we do lose quite a bit of detail in our fish. But maybe that's for the best. Honestly, there's only so much we can do with this image because it is, you know, it's pretty grimy to start with. So let's back off a little bit on that. Some of that graininess comes back in the water, but we gain a little more detail back in our fish. The reef down here is looking fine, if not amazing. But compared to the original photo, holy cow, what a difference. It's like we just wiped off a layer of grime. Now let's play with the white balance a little bit. I think we could warm it up a touch. Bring out the yellows on those Sergeant Majors. I think that's starting to look really nice. Maybe a little too much, but how about that? I think that's looking pretty good. And now let's just for interest's sake, let's try some vignetting on for size. Okay, heavy vignetting, that looks very fake. You can see it just looks like a post-process filter. But medium and light vignetting, not so bad, right? Let's go with the light vignetting. How about that? And I think that adds a bit more drama to it. Alright, So up close, this image doesn't look fantastic, and it's never going to look fantastic because the original photo, you know what they say, no matter how much you polish a turd, or you can't, no, how does the saying go? Darn it. Whatever. You can't polish a turd, I guess is how it goes. This isn't so bad after we've worked with it a bit. It's still not an amazing image. It's too soft. It's just kind of... But for an underwater image, it's not too bad. I think it looks pretty cool. So, I'm happy with how that's turned out, honestly. Alright, let's move on. Okay, I've got an iguana here. This was also on Aruba. We walked along the waterfront a ways in the downtown area, and we came across this little park, and this park was full of iguanas. They were everywhere. And so this was one of the guys that I got the best photo of, and I just think he looks really cool. So let's see what we can do. Version 5. Now, cropping is going to be a big thing here. We don't need all that empty space, so let's bring that in a bit, bring this up a bit, bring this down a bit. You can probably hear my stomach, it's growling. I'm getting hungry. Hungry, hungry, hungry. That looks pretty good. Okay. Can you hear that? I should have eaten before I started. Okay, so from there, let's go Adobe Vivid. Oh yes, wow, that really pops his color, doesn't it? And then let's go D-Light for the white balance. Maybe that's too warm, I don't know. Yeah, we'll keep as shot. Auto on the tone. That doesn't change too dramatically, but it's looking a little better. I feel like if we crank the clarity too far on this guy, it's just gonna look fake. It's gonna take it too far. So let's keep that fairly modest setting. Same for vibrance. I don't want to take it too very far. Now, sharpening. I don't think we need a whole lot of sharpening here, but we'll just bump it up just a bit. Just a bit. Masking is unnecessary because there's really no smooth areas in this image. Everything's going to get sharpened pretty much no matter what, and that's okay. It is a very busy image. It's too bad he doesn't stand out better from the grass, but you know we do have a solution for drawing the eye towards the center of an image. So let's just slap on that heavy vignette. That's okay. You know, it's not an amazing image. I don't know if I can crop it a little tighter here. The real problem is that the iguana is very busy looking, very high detail, but so is the grass surrounding him, or her. I'm not good at sexing iguanas. I don't know what this is, but and so it's just a little too much for the eye. The whole image is too much for the eye. And of course the colors are very similar too between the grass and the iguana, so I'd really hoped to be able to do something more with this image, and I think he's a cool looking iguana. But it's not really coming out the way I wanted it to. Let's sharpen it up a little more. Let's just try the masking trick to see if we can... Yeah, no matter what we do, even all the way, grass and iguana alike are getting sharpened, and there's simply no escaping that. But that's just how it is. Yeah, that's too bad. Ah well, you win some, you lose some. It's still a pretty neat looking creature. Alright, this is going to be a very long video, but you know what? That's okay. Hopefully you're enjoying it, or at least asleep. If you're asleep, that's great too. This is Half Moon Key. This is in the Bahamas. This was our final stop on our cruise. And this is an island that is privately owned by Holland America Line, which is the line we cruised with. And the beaches are just gorgeous. Probably the nicest beach we went to. This white sand beach, beautiful blue waters. I mean, you can see I haven't manipulated this image at all, and it still looks kind of hyper real, doesn't it? So let's see what we can do to just really make it beautiful. I think it doesn't really require too much in the way of cropping or... Okay, sure. Let's go with that. That looks fine to me. This was definitely daylight. As shot versus daylight. Daylight warms it up a bit, sure. That looks nice. Let's do that. Some auto levels. Oh yes, okay, that brings out the detail in the beach. That helps out these trees a bit. That made a big difference, actually. I like that. Clarity. Let's bump it a bit, but we don't need too much. We do have a fairly dark sky here, huh? I don't think there's a lot we can do with that. You know what, let's back off on the clarity, because that really darkens this up even further, and we don't need that. Vibrance, however. Let's crank that. I think that looks fine. I think that's still within reason. That makes the water look just beautiful. The trees look fine. We are getting this weird thing where the clouds look like they almost have fringes to them, but I think that's just how the clouds were, to be totally honest. Because if you look in the original image, they're kind of these white-ish clouds in the centers. Oops, we don't need that. With these kind of darker fringes, so I think that's just how it is. And I think we could probably brighten this up just a bit. I know that we risk blowing out our sand here, but it's just so dark up in the sky here, and I'm not quite sure why, honestly. But I think that looks okay. I think that looks pretty nice. But we can definitely get some sharpening going, because these trees look pretty blurry. I'm not really sure why, to be honest. But we can take advantage of the sharpening. Let's go up to 60. And then let's do some aggressive masking to keep the sky from getting too gross looking, too grainy. Yeah, right about there. Good. I don't think we need any vignetting on this image. I think that would do it a disservice, really, because the sky's already pretty dark. The only thing that I like about it is that it brings out some more of the detail in the sand. Oh, I don't know. What do you think, guys? None or light? It's a small difference, but maybe we do the light vignetting. Yeah, sure. Now we've got this nice pleasing gradient from this very deep blue up at the top. this light blue, and then the water. I think that's looking pretty nice. That's a beach I'd like to go back to. Hopefully you think it looks nice too. Okay, our final image of the night is a very dramatic departure. You might recognize this diagonally from Harry Potter. After we ended our cruise in Florida, we went to Orlando. We drove up to Orlando and went to Universal Studios there. And they have the Wizarding World of Harry Potter there. And this is part of that. I have a lot of photos from this part of the theme park. And I also have a lot of Harry Potter photos from a previous trip I went on, where I went to the Warner Brothers studio tour in London, or near London, and Sarah and I visited a bunch of, or saw a bunch of the sets and props from the actual movies, and I've not really edited those photos yet either. That was from last year, from 2017, and I was kind of thinking it might be fun to do another one of these videos specifically with Harry Potter pictures from both that studio and the set photos, as well as from the theme park photos here. If that's something that would interest you, please do let me know, and I would be very happy to do a video like that, focused on Harry Potter stuff. But I wanted to do one video here, one picture here at the end as a little teaser, just for you guys, so that if that other video doesn't end up happening, at the very least, I've shown you one Harry Potter photo. Okay, let's go through the motions here. This is not a fantastic photo. It's cool because of, the subject, but the photo itself could be better. The lighting is not great. It's really blown out over here. We've got these dark shadows on the street. So let's see what we can do about that. That helps a little right off the bat, switching to the Adobe Landscape profile. Let's auto-tone. Okay, so that really brightens things up, doesn't it? It helps with the blown out whites, helps with the blacks being too black here, the shadows being too dark. I think that's good. Let's bump clarity a bit, vibrance a lot. Yeah. Just check the white balance here. Oh, that's way too warm. Daylight versus as shot. I think I like daylight. It warms it up a little. It's just pleasing to me. Okay. I think we're okay in the clarity department. We're not going to touch that. But this could definitely use some sharpening, I would say. Let's go aggressive. Let's go aggressive on the sharpening. Then we're going to have to add some noise reduction to deal with the graininess in the shadows here. Although maybe less than I thought. Like this picture, this sign, sorry, could use some help there. But ye old masking trick. Yeah, still good, still good. Let's keep it above 50. I think that's okay. That actually did help quite a bit, I think. But a little bit of noise reduction wouldn't be amiss, just to help the these shadows, these darker areas that get noisier. That's good. Now, I'm going to add, again, a little bit of post-process vignette. I know that seems silly because I just worked to make the shadows brighter, but I want to add a little bit of gradient to the sky up there. Just a bit. I think maybe, I don't know, what do you think? Let's go with the medium vignette. And that helps to kind of draw the focus away from the crowd down here and also give the sky a bit of drama. And we lose some of the, it gets darker around the fringes here, but there's nothing super interesting happening there. We lose a bit over here maybe, but anyway, I think that looks okay, personally. Yeah, I think that's looking really cool. I think we could even, let's make it a little more vibrant. What do you think Adobe Vivid would look like? Let's just take a peek. Oh no, that won't do. No, that's much better. Yeah, definitely stick with the Adobe landscape. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I'm pretty happy with that. So here we have this shot of Diagon Alley with a dragon on top of Gringotts. All the wonderful shops, Flourish and Blots, the Daily Prophet. All kinds of really cool stuff. I loved going to the wonderful wizarding world of Harry Potter. Sarah loved it too. It was delightful, honestly. I've never been to a theme park of any kind. This was the first that I had ever really been to, and yeah, it was really fun. They do a great job of making that place come alive, as you can see. So, that brings me to the end of this very long video. Let's go back very briefly to the library, and we can remove this one because we're not considering that one anymore. So let's take a very quick little tour back through the photos that we edited here today. So we started with this fellow way back, looking pretty good. Our very cute pupper, who's looking pretty good. You know what? No, not that far, but I just feel like we need more depth to this photo a little bit. We can, yeah. Honestly, I think that looks better. This is how I go about it, I go back through after I'm done, and I just kind of give it a final once over. Just adjust some things. That's looking nice. It's looking very foreboding and dark, but I like it. That's beautiful. As is that. These colors may be a little too jacked out, I don't know, but you know what, they look alright to me, so we're just gonna go with it. I'm honestly not super crazy about this image. I don't think it looks amazing, from a photography standpoint, but I think it was really cool in terms of what it showed in the canal here. So, and I wanted to show that to you guys. This interesting photo that I think is looking okay, considering our iguana that's just too noisy. There's too much going on in that image, but oh well. Beautiful beach and Diagon Alley. Alright, my friends, well, this ended up being much longer than I had intended, but I enjoyed this. I have a lot of fun editing these photos, as you can tell. you found it interesting and relaxing. My stomach chimes in one last time. And if you would like to see more photos or more videos of photos like this one, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know, especially if you want to see that Harry Potter photo editing video. Alright, my friends, thank you again for joining me, as always, and I look very forward to having you all back here again next